Hi, Graham Dossel. Hang on, rotate your device. You can't turn your phone while live. Okay. Apparently, I have to turn it like that. This is live, talking about reviewing your credit file. I'm just going to jump onto here too. Okay. Okay, so what we want to talk about this afternoon is why it makes a big difference who it is that's reviewing your credit file. For instance, just this afternoon, I've just got off the phone with a broker from WA, and this particular broker is talking about his client that is having a problem with an energy company. Now, that's not unusual. It's something we get sorted all the time. In fact, Clarissa, she's with me again today. Clarissa had multiple energy company defaults removed just today. Now, what was interesting about this is the client had gone to the broker to get a loan. The loan was rejected because of an energy company default. The client then went to the creditor and asked for it to be removed. And I've got the email trail, and it's a back and forth about this, the default and the issues with the cyclone in WA, etc., etc. So there's plenty of circumstances that suggest the default shouldn't have been there in the first place. But the energy company kept saying no. So they brought us in to have a look at the credit file, and it looks like we'll start work on that, removing that matter tomorrow. Now, what gave me an enormous amount of confidence is because we can look at a credit file immediately and know exactly what's going on, know exactly what information on the credit file means. So we had a look, and the default was listed 2 years after the debt fell due. Now, there are rules about how long it can be between the debt falling due and the date of listing. And trust me, 2 years is too long. So in this particular case, I think we should be able to get that removed hang on, something just happened. Someone... okay, what can I do? Bring them on camera. I can bring someone on camera now.
Yeah,
that's pretty scary. Holy heck. And Clarissa has asked me to bring you on camera.
Oh, that's because I just joined.
Okay, very good.
So it's asked you to invite me, and I don't want to be invited.
Okay, so Clarissa doesn't want to be on camera. So where was I? That's right, the default. This particular default was listed 2 years after the debt fell due. You can't do that. But just by us having a look at the file, immediately like that, we can identify what the problems are. So whilst we have a 100% money-back guarantee for consumer defaults, whilst we have in excess of a 91.6% removal resolution rate, all that stuff isn't what's important. What's important is the fact that when you engage MyCRA lawyers, we get to have a look at the credit file and see immediately what the problems are and see immediately the chances of getting it removed. So, look, I'm going to try and... Clarissa, can you help me here? I can't find this bloody... oh, here we are. Is that me?
Yeah, that's
me. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to try and answer some questions live as well.
That was just me.
That was you mucking around. Very good.
No, I was just asking everyone if they wanted to ask questions to feel free.
Okay, so if you've got any questions, please ask questions. I'll do the best I can to answer them live, and I've got the keyboard out now. But again, the reason I got on this afternoon is just the default from the energy company in WA. It was listed 2 years after it should have been, and that means it'll get removed very, very quickly and very easily. Clarissa, you were talking about some of the defaults you've had removed today. What sort of companies did you get defaults removed from today?
I know
one was an energy company.
Okay, so I had 4 energy companies, and one was a telco, actually one of the biggest telcos that we have, and everyone seems to be uncomfortable with this particular telco. Okay. So
is that a telco that's starting with a T?
Yeah, just happens to be starting with a T and ending in an A.
Yeah. Okay.
So the big telcos, we're not just talking about little companies. We're talking about big ones. And in this particular instance, the client, we had requested the information that we always request to try and prove that they did the wrong thing or find a way to help our client. And this particular telco refused to provide the one piece of evidence that would have either confirmed or denied our story for this client. This client said that he had contacted them and said that he had given them notice of hardship, that he was going through a very, very critical situation, a breakdown of a relationship and a number of other things. And we said to them, well, hang on a second, we need a copy of this call that the client made. He told you he was on Centrelink payments as an example.
Yep.
And they said, oh, well, we don't have to provide that. Well, actually, yes, you do. And they refused to provide it. And
just pause every second. Guys, that's something you've got to be aware of too. Unfortunately, these creditors will bluff you. When it comes to asking them for information, you'll ask and they'll say, go away. When we ask, they say, go away. The difference is, being a law firm, we don't accept go away. Go away doesn't work for us. It's a case of, hang on, Mr. Creditor, you legally have an obligation. So you have a legal obligation to provide this information when requested within 30 days. If you don't do it, you're in breach, and the fines can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we tell creditors, when you go and try and do this yourself, and you can, they'll often bluff you and they'll tell you to go away. With us, we actually have to get the information or they have to remove the default.
So what ended up happening was, in this particular instance, we told them that at this particular point, as per their file notes, which they provided, we told the client that, the client told them that he was going through hardship and he wouldn't be able to make a payment for a certain period of time, and what the hardship was. They disputed it and kept saying, no, we're not removing the default. No, we're not removing the default. So, as part of your infinite wisdom, telling us that, you know what, an email's not good enough. Pick up the phone and call the creditor.
Yep.
I picked up the phone, I called the creditor, and I actually was giving the creditor a bit of feedback, good feedback, on one of the gentlemen that I'd spoken to who had helped me remove another default a few weeks ago when the rest of the default team wouldn't remove it. He listened to my story, he listened to the reasons, and he was reasonable. So I gave feedback to his supervisor. His supervisor then became our new contact for escalations well and truly above anything in these situations, because they can overturn it. So went to the supervisor and I said, I have another issue. This is the situation. And she said, let me review it. And she came back to me the next day and said, you know what? Let's not go to the ombudsman, because it's going to cost us too. Let's not go to the ombudsman. Let's actually work this out together. And yeah, we're going to remove it. We did look like we did the right thing, but because they won't provide us with the information, we're going to remove it.
Yeah.
And it was that simple. We had the creditors saying, no, 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 no. I didn't take no for an answer. You taught me that in day one. Don't take no for an answer. But people, don't take no for an answer. If you hear the word no, you're talking to the wrong person. Because at the end of the day, everything can be resolved in one way or another. Everything.
Guys, we have a 100% money back guarantee for one main reason, and that is, you know, with all the marketing hype and all that sort of stuff about guarantees, yes, it makes the client feel better, but from a business point of view, if we couldn't do what we say we could do, a money back guarantee would send me broke. We've never had to worry about it because we get the defaults removed. As long as you tell us the truth, as long as everything's up front, tell us as much as you know, then we've got every chance to get the defaults removed. Like Clarissa was just saying, when a creditor says no to you, you don't know where to go. You don't know the legislation. You know what you can and can't do. When it's us, we know the legislation and we don't give up. I hate to admit it, but the longest default that I know of to remove the default took us 583 days. That's nearly 2 years. Now I have to pay my staff for that entire time to work on that matter. Now we charge a fixed fee in most cases. So that means we need to make it, we're not like most law firms, they charge you on an hourly basis and keep going and make a fortune. The longer it takes, the better. No, we're different to that. If we quote you a price up front, that's it. As long as we're working within what we've quoted you to do, that's it, no more money. So 583 days, and by the way, I'll put in...
good enough.
Well, the creditor gave us all sorts of curry on that particular file. And what it meant was that we had to keep working. We just had to keep going because we knew we were in the right. We knew our client was right. We knew there was a reason for removal. And so I lost money hand over fist on that. So the way this all works is the sooner I can get the default removed, the more money I make too. It's good for you, it's good for me, it's good for my team, it's good for everybody. So we've got a couple of quick questions. Is it Cortez?
Yes.
Do you do debt consolidation? Well, yes and no. We don't have a debt consolidation product that's really on its own. We have a debt consolidation product that's built in when we're removing default. So for instance, if you owe a creditor $20,000, then we might be able to negotiate that debt down to a lower amount for you as part of the default removal. I hope that answers that question. Not many other written questions, but look, some of the other defaults that we've had removed lately, like Panthera Finance. I'm sure there's been a lot of people on the call, on the video that have had a Panthera default. In fact, why don't I just ask that question? Have you had a Panthera
I love how you're typing
default? Oh yes, that's right.
But you're actually talking.
I'm talking. Yeah, good. Okay, I don't need to type that. See,
Yeah.
I'm not real good at this stuff yet. Good at removing defaults. No, I can't even spell default. Type in and tell us what who you've had defaults with.
They'd be really interested actually, because there's a lot of creditors, and people don't think of these debt collection agencies as creditors, but they are.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they're the ones who are listing it.
The when a telco or an energy company has a debt, they'll often sell that debt to a debt collector. So they don't often just ask a debt collector to go and collect the money. They sell the debt at a reduced rate. Then the debt collector makes the money out of collecting the debt at the full rate or higher than the full rate, because they'll add interest and charges and everything else. So it's in the debt collector's interest to get paid. It's in our interest to get the default removed as quickly as possible for you and get the debt reduced as much as possible for you as well. The area of credit reporting law is vast. There are a number of different areas that I suppose, well, we specialise in credit repair, but there's a number of areas that we're really, really good at. And some of those might be like judgment removal, removing clear outs. So that's a clear out where the creditor can't find you for a few years, and they take it from a 5-year default to a 7-year default. A standard default, of course, inquiries, removing too many inquiries. Just today I published a video on our blog about how many inquiries it takes to ruin your credit rating. There's, of course, repayment history information. So if you're more than 15 days late making your repayments, that now destroys your credit rating. So there's a lot happening in the credit repair area. And one of the most important things is, who is it that is reviewing your credit file? And why does it make a difference? Well, with us, for instance, we're the only specialist credit repair law firm in the entire country. And why it makes a difference is, when I look at a credit file, I can immediately see the problems. I immediately know how to fix that. When Clarissa looks at a credit file, she immediately knows how to fix it. When Patrick looks at a credit file, when Christina looks at a credit file, when anybody in the team looks at a credit file, they can immediately identify what's wrong, how to fix it, and often how quickly it'll be done.
We've had a private message, who I'm going to keep the person anonymous because they wish to be. Just asking, they've got a couple of judgments and they want to know if we can help with that type of thing.
Oh, judgments, absolutely.
So
yes.
this is a little bit different to just credit repair, because credit repair can be seen in so many different ways. It can just be an inquiry on your credit report. It could be as simple as, or not as simple, but it could be a default. It could be judgments. But what about a commercial judgment? This is the question that we've got. There's commercial ones and personal ones. Commercial defaults are put on a personal credit file.
Well, when you say default,
there are commercial judgments that got put on a personal credit file.
Well, that would probably be that, if I can be so bold as to guess, because we don't have a two-way communication with you very well, is that you're probably a director or a business owner, and they noted you as the individual that authorised the debt. And if that's the case, then they might be they might have named you in the claimant statement of claim when you are sued. And it really is a matter, we'd have to have a look into it to find out what the story was. I'm making this up because I don't know. I haven't seen your credit file. I haven't seen the plaint. I haven't seen anything.
The gentleman in question has given us his contact details. So we'll call him. I've said we'll call him once we've finished the live.
Yep. Perfect. Yep.
So
if you don't want to tell us on the chat, just send us a direct message through Fix My Bad Credit or through to MyCRA Lawyers. You can also have a look at mycralawyers.com.au and have a look for more information.
Don't stalk me on Facebook, please.
And don't stalk Producer on Facebook. There's so much information, and we're here to help. Seriously, it's what we do. What is it? It's currently 5:45 Queensland time. Wherever you are, it's going to be a different time. But I'll be honest, I generally try to leave the office by 3:30 in the afternoon because I start at 6 o'clock in the morning. But I decided to stay back this evening because I enjoyed that Facebook Live I did on Friday night. Get a lot of really good questions.
Yeah.
And we had a lot more private messages than I expected. So please send us a private message. We'll answer your questions. Cool. You're communicating as well?
Yeah, I'm communicating with them.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So I'm
I'm
a little bit older than some people, so I don't know how to do all of this stuff. I should probably learn. But instead, I've got Clarissa here. She's answering some questions and stuff. I'm still trying to work out how to share this thing with other people as well. I don't know how to do that.
In this particular instance, this inquirer has said they want to get a house loan, so they need to clean up their credit file. These are big situations that affect the simple situation you just mentioned before. I mean, how much can you save the first person you were talking about just by helping them to remove one thing from their credit file?
Oh, well, in this particular case, the reason I decided to jump on this afternoon is we've got this client that they've been given an approval. Their circumstance is a little unusual, so even their approval for a 95% loan was at 5.39%. Sorry, 7.39% for a 95% mortgage, 95% loan to valuation ratio. Now, that's high, but there's a lot of circumstances involved in why it's so high. But when we remove that one default from that energy company, which I think we should be able to get done in a couple of weeks, that'll drop. Probably a couple of days, but I don't want to.
We like to overestimate, just so that we can.
We've had a look at the credit file. We've spoken to the mortgage broker. We know what's going on. It should be pretty easy to get removed. But by getting that removed, it'll go from 7.39% down to 5.39%. In this particular case, this client's loan is roughly $350,000. For those of you in New South Wales and Melbourne and Victoria, that's deposit on a house for you guys. But where this person's buying, the mortgage is $350,000. That's going to save them in excess of $40,000 a year. Sorry, $40,000 over the next couple of years. So it's going to save them about $6,000, $7,000 a year. Now, because it's a 95% loan, they won't be able to refinance for 5 or 10 years by the time the equity comes. The loan to equity ratio improves, so that it'll be 95% on day one plus their fees and charges. And what that means is they're going to have to wait until the property value increases before they can refinance the property. So that could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. If it was just, say, I'll pull a figure out of the air, say 10 years because it's simple maths. That's at $40,000 a year. That's at $7,000 a year. That's $70,000 they're saving just by removing one default. And they don't have a choice. Their circumstance are either they get the higher interest rate or the lower interest rate. And the good news is when that default's gone, they'll be able to refinance much, much sooner to a lower rate, even at the higher LVR. So this stuff makes a big difference. Choosing the right people to look at your credit file and give you some advice. Even if you choose not to use us, get some advice from us. Send us your credit file. We'll have a look, tell you what's in your credit file. If you don't have a copy of your credit rating, you need to get a copy of your Equifax and your Ilium credit files as a minimum. If you go directly to those companies, it'll cost you around $150 a year to get all of those, or we can get them for you for about $75. You can get them free within about 10 days. If you go to freecreditrating.com.au, you can put your details in there and get the direct link to the free ones. There are so many options available to you. If you want any of this information, just put yes credit rating or something in comments, and I'll send you the details about where to get these credit ratings from. Nicole says, what does it cost? Nicole, that's too big a question. Depends what you've got. It can be not much. It'd be $75 to find out you've got nothing wrong with the credit file, right up to thousands of dollars if you've got a really complex situation. But again, before we charge you anything, we have a look and tell you exactly what's going on, tell you exactly what it's going to cost, and we have fixed fees. So if it does blow out, it's not going to cost you any extra money.
Okay, I've just got a question coming. Like you said, you guys are sending us these things through, but please know that we're not going to say on live who you are, but I'd like other people to know these situations because everyone's situation is different. Okay, so I'm going to keep your privacy, but this particular person has said, hey guys, I've got a default on my file at the moment that was just put on there by a car rental company for unpaid tolls while I use their car in Sydney. I was working for a company I no longer work for and had my email account closed down by them, hence no communication about the tolls. I may have received a phone call but didn't answer subsequent ones. It's about 250 and it's halved my credit score from 800 to 380. Can this be fixed, and what fees do you charge to do so? It's only been on my file for a month or two. Cheers.
I strongly suggest it can be fixed. The cost, I don't know until we have a look at the credit file, and we can quote you directly once we have a look at the credit file. But that sort of thing shouldn't happen. I'm presuming the rental car was probably in the company name. It should be in the company, not you. It was probably, there's so many things that could be involved. Yes, I'd love a coffee, thanks Patrick. My cup's in the dishwasher. So there could be so many reasons to have that removed. It sounds like you've been done over. That's not fair. And it'll cost you nothing for us to have a look at it. Okay, Nicole, you asked the question, what does it cost? Just have a look at it. Nothing at all. If you get your credit files and send it through, we'll have a look for you and tell you what your options are. Hey, Nicole, it's how we make money. We tell you what your options are, then hopefully you might choose us to fix it for you. So we'll tell you for free. If you don't have your credit file, it'll either cost you money to get your credit file through us, like $75, or which is about half what you'll pay if you go. Thank you, Patrick.
Did you need me to prove you have a lawyer?
Oh, Patrick just wants to prove he's a real person.
He just wants to be on camera again. Come on, Patrick.
This is Patrick. This is our legal practitioner director. He's the head honcho in the law firm. I might own the law firm, but he's the smarts behind it. All of that. That's Patrick. See the mustache.
The mustache is a little off today.
Oh yes. What's going on, mate? You're not as curly.
Isn't it?
Oh no.
I did have a complaint about that.
So, thank you, Patrick, and thank you for the coffee. How's that? I have a senior partner in a law firm getting me a coffee. I feel special.
I know, right? It should be the other way around.
Hey, yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, you going home?
I am. I'm tired.
So Nicole,
we have a good sense of humour in the office.
So Nicole, it costs you nothing to send through your credit file, and we'll have a look. Now we have who was it? Someone. I can't. Is it Negin? N-E-G-I-N, Negin. Yes, credit rating. So we'll send you the details. Negan? Negan. Hey, Negan, can you tell me how to pronounce your name? Can you, because I hate it when people get my name wrong, and I really try, but tell me how to pronounce it properly. So what I'll do is I'll go here, freecreditrating.com.au. So this is the link. If you go to freecreditrating.com.au, that's where you can get the free ones from, or the information to get the free one. What it'll do, you put your details in, that adds you to our system. It then automatically sends you a link to where to get the free credit rating from each of the credit reporting bodies in Australia and one in New Zealand, just to make sure you've got the direct access. Because while the credit reporting bodies are legally required to give you a free copy, they don't always make it easy to find it. So that's what that link does. It gives you the direct access. Okay, so what else have we got happening here? Oh, notes. Najeen.
That's a nice name.
That's really nice, yeah. Thank you, Najeen. So, Najeen, yes, I've put up there for the freecreditrating.com.au. Nicole, you'll send your credit rating to me. Thank you very much. Actually, what I'll get you to do is where do we get everyone to send their credit files through? Just through to Docs?
Send them through to the MyCRA Facebook page,
Oh, you can get them from there.
and we can get them from there.
Okay, so go to... That's a good question, Nicole. We're just thinking about that. Where do you want to send it? So, hang on. Facebook.
Just go at.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, okay, so hang on. She's...
Go backwards and go at MyCRA Lawyers. There it is.
There we go. So, send the credit files to MyCRA Lawyers Facebook page, and then Clarissa can pick them up and have a look at them.
Yep.
I can have a look at them also.
He's got me working after hours.
Yeah, it is. It's 6 o'clock.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. The brilliance of working for a law firm, I suppose.
I actually don't mind it. Any other place you work for call centres, you work for this, that, and the other. But the one thing I can honestly say working here is, apart from the fact that Graham's not a bad boss, I'll say that much.
Thank you. Pay rise.
Yeah, hopefully. But it's also the fact that at the end of the day, the one big thing that I can say is I actually believe in what we're doing.
It makes... What I like is we get to make a difference. We could do family law. In fact, Patrick, his favourite law is family law. We can do commercial law. We can do traffic law, debt collection, all that sort of stuff. But MyCRA Lawyers, when I set it up specifically to fix people's credit ratings, because I've been helping people with bad credit ratings since I went bankrupt in 2000. My business partner back then ripped me off, stole all my money, and ended up going broke. And there's nothing I could do about it at the time. My lawyer said that your only option was to go bankrupt, and I agonised for a long time. I went bankrupt only to find out 6 months later my lawyer was an idiot, and he didn't know what the hell he was talking about, and I had plenty of options. But then I had to sit through being bankrupt for 3 years. 3 of the hardest years of my life. I tell you what, since then, every business I've had has been about helping people get out of trouble.
Yeah.
Or avoid getting in the first place. So for a long time I had Mortgage Now, Australia's largest exclusively non-conforming mortgage brokerage. We only help people with bad credit ratings. And then, unfortunately, I got cancer in 2009, and that didn't help the business when I was in hospital for so many months.
You're still working in hospital?
Oh, yeah. Good night, Patrick. But, I did. I worked the whole time while I was in hospital. But, because I love what I do. When I got out of hospital and I was well enough to get back to work, I decided that I didn't want to do mortgage broking anymore, and I wanted to help people, the same kind of people, but instead of putting a band-aid on their problem by giving them a bad credit mortgage, I wanted to fix their problem by fixing their credit rating. And we've been doing that now. In fact, next month it'll be 10 years we've been fixing people's credit ratings. It's pretty exciting.
I'm just stealing your mouth so I can respond to Nicole as well.
Okay.
And just give her an email.
Did you see that, Nicole?
Oh, let me turn you down, because you don't want to hear yourself.
No.
Okay, replying to Nicole. So we've also got Docs if they don't want to send it through Facebook.
Yeah, just send it through docs at mycralawyers.com.au.
You keep doing what you do.
Oh, sorry, you do, yes.
He's not used to not having his mouth and his keyboard in front of him.
Hey, I'm a bloke, right? I know my limitations.
See, all ladies, you can hear that. You can officially turn around and say you know it.
I've been married for a long time, and I stay married because happy wife, happy life.
So Jessica has just asked, how do you fix someone's credit rating?
Well, Jessica, the answer to that question depends on the start of the question. What's wrong with the credit rating? Generally speaking, a default can only be removed, default can only be removed when it's been placed there unlawfully. So what we need to do is we need to go to the creditor, find out what happened in the process of listing the default. First of all, we'll ask you a lot of questions, get your background, understand what happened, and then we'll go to the creditor, ask them for a series of documents they're legally required to have. If they don't have those documents, that in itself can be enough to get defaults removed. Najeen, we did send that. Have a look in the comments. It's sent. The freecreditrating.com.au is the link to go to get your free credit rating. Sorry if you missed that before. Just replying. Yeah, very good. How do you fix a credit rating? Depends what sort of a default it was, or a judgment, or anything else. But effectively, the process is we look for errors or omissions in the way the default was listed in the first place. When we find those errors or omissions, we evidence that the default listing hasn't been placed correctly, the consumer's rights haven't been afforded, and therefore the default's unlawful. We let the creditor know, and they have to remove that default pretty much straight away. That's the simple version. There's over 8,000 pages of legislation that we rely upon to make sure that, to check against, to make sure the default's been removed successfully.
Yeah, and he's made me read almost all of it.
What we do is not a small job. There's a lot involved. Well, mind you, team members like you, we do it really, really well. So.
Oh, well, the point of it is, at the end of the day, if we can help people, then why not? Why are we wasting time? And unfortunately, one of the biggest things... Actually, I'm going to say this. I had a very no BS conversation with the energy company today, where we have a very specific process that Graham has 100% turned around and said, this is how we do it because this is how it works. But a lot of these creditors, and they've admitted this, and this particular creditor admitted this today, they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And they're just doing what the process says, and small bits of legislation have told them they must do. But they don't understand the full repercussions. And this particular creditor said to me today, how about, instead of you sending me a whole bunch of paperwork, which lawyers are renowned for burying people in paperwork, we all know that. How about, instead of requesting all of this stuff and taking 30 days and then potentially having to go further and complaints and this and that, why don't you just tell me what you want straight away? If you want it removed, tell me and give me a good reason why. Now, that's one creditor who's willing to come to the party. But they specifically, and you know this, was we haven't even had a full discussion about it yet, but they specifically want to put a process in place because of how good their communications have been with us. So this is just for us, a specific thing, because we have explained the reason why we're doing what we're doing for our clients, and we've had a decent conversation with them, and it might have taken 2 hours out of my day in total, not in one call, so don't freak out, but 2 hours out of my day, over 48 hours, I've taken the time to have a conversation with this creditor and actually tell them what we're trying to do. And as a result, they don't just want to come to the party in general. They want to create a whole new policy and procedure. And this has gone right up to their general manager, who's approved it, depending on what the terms are, obviously, but who's approved to come to the party with us to even remove certain things that they might not actually have to remove.
Well, they can't do that. The only way a default can be removed, they might be trying to be nice by saying that, but the only way a default can legally be removed is when it's evidenced it shouldn't have been put on there in the first place.
But what I'm saying is,
through an error or omission.
Yes.
So
that's what I mean. Like, through that they it's not that I don't have to. I've chosen the wrong words there, but it's more about.
Yes, I'm picky. Everything we do has to be spot on.
And that is exactly right. But in the situation, as a specific, was that hardship was mentioned once.
Yep.
And then nothing was really followed up about it. And it was only in slight conversation, so it could have been inferred, but not quite. Yep. So they had a little bit of a grey line there to potentially rule with. And the Ombudsman, if we had gone there, could have gone either way on that instance. And we've all been there, right?
And we often remove defaults where the Ombudsman says that the Ombudsman will rule against the client in the favour of the creditor.
So against you?
Yep,
that's what I mean, against them. Yeah.
And we still find reason for removal anyway. Because, again, the Ombudsman, like the legislators say that you shouldn't go to a credit repair agency, and I agree, because they don't have the training or experience. And a lot of these credit repair agencies, all they do is just flick you off to the Ombudsman and let the Ombudsman do the work. They charge you money for it, and you could have done it. You could have done that yourself for free.
A lot of people, this particular provider had said that a lot of people just get so snowed under, and then they don't think to actually call their provider, and that's how they end up coming to us. So at the end of the day, good news for you, and good news for our business, but at the end of the day, it's now about how can we resolve this quicker, because we have an extremely quick success rate. But how can we do it quicker? Yeah. How can we do it better?
Everything we do is about getting the defaults removed faster, and with economies of scale. Like, guys, I don't know whether you know or not, but in the most recent report from Equifax, 21.5 million credit files. Of those, an ASIC, Australian Securities Investment Commission report, showed that 30% of them have errors. So if you have a look at that, just roughly, there's 6.5 million people with a bad credit rating. We know that about 2.5 million people of those are people they can fix it themselves. So it might have been Nicole's credit file and it was spelled NICHOLE instead of NICOLE. It's something you can fix yourself for free. You don't need
I've
us
had
to do
that
it.
happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But we also know that the other 4 million people, it's a bit more complex, something they need our help with. And unfortunately, all the studies reveal that of that 4 million, about 3.8 million people don't know they've got a bad credit rating. So if you know anybody that might have a bad credit rating, share the fact that defaults can be removed. Share the video. Share the fact that they can get a copy of their credit file. In fact, they should get a copy of their credit file.
I think everyone should.
As a minimum, every 12 months, just to check to see what's on there. Because most of the people that come to us, they find that they've got a bad credit rating when they need money for their mortgage or their car loan or something like that. They only find out when suddenly they're in an urgent situation. They get taken advantage of by these criminals out there that promise the world and do nothing for them. So
I'm going to move this topic on because we've got a couple of questions. Now, Jessica has actually said, what about when it comes to banks? Like if you have a bad credit rating from being late on repayments for a loan. Now, this is only something very new that started to affect people's credit ratings quite seriously, RHI. So repayment history information. Do you want to answer that?
Repayment history information basically means it'll stay on you. It's a record of your repayment history, which is why it's called repayment history information. If you're 15 or more days late in making your payments on a licensed creditor, so from a bank like a credit card or a car loan or something like that, that will show up on your credit file as being late. Now, depending on how long it takes you to fix that and catch it up and get it back up to speed, will be how long it says. So it goes from 1 month through to 6 months, and the longer it's on there, the worse it is, the worse it affects your credit score. Unfortunately, the idea of this was supposed to be that for those people that are perfect clean credit rating, they'll get lower rates, and everybody else will, be risk rated and pay more. Unfortunately, what's happening is people with perfect credit ratings don't get a lower rate at all, and they're using any little thing they can to actually decline you because there's more people that want money than will be approved. So they'll use any excuse they can to decline you. So if you pay your credit card 16 days late, good chance that one thing is going to be treated as bad as a default and you won't be able to borrow money at all. That's very, very scary.
And that's something that we help to fix as well, Jessica. So feel free to send us a message if you've got an inquiry about it. We can definitely look into it for you. Once again, just send us your credit file because that's really important. Now, Nicole has come back and said, a scenario of you had a family breakdown and loss of job and defaults are there due to not being able to pay, and there's more than five. Is it correctly possibly the best option is bankruptcy as still unemployed?
Well, you've got to think about the benefit. If you begged, borrowed and stole money to fix the credit rating, what's going to be the benefit? You probably can't borrow money anyway if you're unemployed. Bankruptcy, it's never a good scenario unless it's the right scenarios. And again, I can't give advice on that because I don't know the circumstances. But I'd definitely say to have a look at the credit file. Anybody who's affected, have a look at the credit file, see exactly what's on there, and send it through. We'll have a look for you as well and give you some advice based on what they want to do, what that individual wants to do. If they need to go bankrupt, there are plenty of free services out there to help you with the bankruptcy. In fact, you can do it yourself. When I went bankrupt back in 2000, I filled in a form and sent it off to, at the time it was called ITSA, it's now called AFCA. I sent off the form myself. It didn't cost me anything. Yep. So there are resources out there and we can point you in the right direction and hey, ask more of these questions so we can help other people who are too scared to ask.
Yeah. Now, Najeen has said, after removing all bad histories from personal credit records, is it going to be shown in my report at all? I mean, after a few years of removal, is it still there?
No, absolutely not. The idea of removing a default means it's completely erased from your credit file. Now,
I like that question, by the way, Najeen. That was a really good one.
It is a really good question. Unfortunately, once someone has seen your credit file, the old one with the default on there, they probably can't unsee it. So, for instance, one of the things we run across occasionally, let's say, for instance, you had a default with Westpac, and we found out that Westpac didn't follow the rules and we had to remove that default. And therefore, your credit file went from having a default with Westpac to nice and clean. If you applied for finance again with Westpac, they still have their own internal records. So you may not get money from Westpac, but if you applied with Commonwealth Bank, for instance, they might say yes because they've never seen the Westpac default. a little bit convoluted, but I hope that makes sense. The internal companies may have their own records, but somebody who, someone new won't have any record whatsoever. And no, it won't be on your credit file. Once it's removed, it's gone for good.
Yeah, and no one can see it. I've seen a credit file with lots and lots and lots of things on it, and then the next minute we get that back after the waiting period for when they've had it done, and all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah, it's all gone. So once it's gone for good. And part of our process too is that we'll get a credit file from you or for you when we start. We'll go through, we'll remove the default, and then when it's finished, we get you to get another copy of the credit file to make sure it's actually gone. Don't apply for finance before you physically check a new copy of the credit file to make sure it's actually gone.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we've had creditors in the past, thankfully not very often, but they say, yes, we'll remove that, and they forget. Another mistake on their part.
Or the other one we do have is they put the request through and the credit reporting body doesn't action it.
That's right. So we just have to follow up and make sure it gets done. Thanks, Najeen. Yep. Look, anything else, just give us a call at any stage. Send us a message on Facebook. Happy to help in any way we can.
Even if it is on a weekend, we all still check it. Well, not all of us, but Graham and I check it.
Peter Goff is watching. Hello, Pete. How are you, mate? Pete is one of my previous team members.
Pete, I actually saw one of your matters today. One of the things that you handled. He had his fingers in the.
Yeah, Pete had his fingers in almost everything. Yeah. How are you, Pete? Good to see you. So anyway, where are we up to? I think we might have to wind this up.
Yeah, I think that's it because we've got 2 calls to make.
We do. So look, thanks for joining in.
Oh, hey, Peter says hi.
We're going to wind up now, but if you've got any questions before we go, I'll keep it open for about another minute and answer any other questions. Otherwise,
send us a message.
Send us a message, and we're going to do a lot more of these Facebook Live because we seem to get a lot of good questions and help a lot of good people.
And we're going to do them at different times. Obviously, today it can be early. For some people, late for different states as well, like later on for different states. For Queenslanders, I do apologise because you're probably driving at the moment, and if you are, call Armstrong, Dossel, Stevenson lawyers when you get pulled over by the
we do traffic. Armstrong, Dossel, Stevenson lawyers does traffic law, so we can help out there as well. Okay, thanks guys. Have a great night and share the video, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ya.